This conference will now be recorded.
Been quite a while. It's a long time.
U.S. Congress and you got people that sit for 40 years. They've got to get to a point where you have to end that. Just different blood, new. I mean, some of these people can't even walk.
Yeah.
And their ideas are back from the 50s when they started.
Yeah, do something about that.
I ain't going that far.
These
People
old
spend
people.
millions of dollars to take a job, it pays 200,000, you wonder.
Yeah.
We have a lot of wisdom. I mean, that's the other thing.
Amendments then.
Well, yeah, and then they start.
The meeting was called to order. The agenda, there's an amendment, 7D, member terms. Steger made a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. For a second. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And approval of the minutes.
Move we approve the minutes as printed.
Where we're at, sorry, I was reading.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Carried. And no public hearings, no old business, new business 6A.
Yeah, so the property owner, Aaron Whitmer, who joined us a couple months ago for the annexation we talked about. So he's on to the next step of his plan for that piece of land on the northern part of the city.
It's for sale right now, isn't it? There's a for sale sign up there. What?
I've
Why
heard
is
it
that?
already sold too, but
Yeah, I know. That's why I was wondering why the for sale sign. was there.
yep.
Okay.
But before, I think it's waiting on this before it
Oh,
closes.
okay,
So long story short, he submitted a application for a minor subdivision. And in the attachments, you'll recognize the site map, because this was used as supplemental material for the annexation. And what he wants to do is follow through with the survey done and divide a line kind of on the southern part of the annexed parcel. And the reasoning for that is to keep the existing business that is there and then make available for sale the northern part, the larger part. So as you can see on this site map, if we're all looking at the same thing, parcel A is what's going to be for sale if this goes through. Currently, parcel A encompasses the northern part of parcel B. And he wants, we're not worrying about parcel B. He's just trying to put the line in parcel A.
The part that's labeled existing parcel, is that part of that property also to the south there?
It is under the same ownership. It is a different parcel though.
Because it's in the city limits, that's.
It was,
yeah.
yep.
There, okay.
Yep. So that,
So it's three things there.
yep, there is. That southern one used to be a house, I was told, back whenever they had a house. Parcel B is what he wants to create to keep the existing business there. And then parcel A is what he wants to create to sell.
How does access work?
So access comes from an easement from parcel B. There's a current existing easement on the 58 cut out there, how that business currently gets serviced. Otherwise, he doesn't envision any plans of rebuilding a house on the smaller southern portion, and there's an existing access easement there too.
I was just saying, if they do that parcel A, how are they gonna be able to get to it? So,
That would, yeah, that would be for, say a developer wanted to come in and put whatever the developer had an interest in, that would be on their development application if they needed another access point type of thing. Yeah, if the state allows it, correct. But anyways, to talk about the technical side of things, he submitted the application and the appropriate materials, which include a legal description, which I've attached, and the site map, so we know where it is. So the next step would be, if this is acceptable, to set a public hearing for next month.
designate what the zoning is, commercial or whatever, as part of that, or how does that work?
Yep, when we annexed the parcel in, we brought it in as highway commercial, so the C2 color. So it is currently C2. So both of them would stay that zone.
Motion to schedule a public hearing. Second. Sure, I'll make the motion. Any further discussion? If not, and that's for, when did you say, Dylan?
January 11th.
January 11th, I said at 5:35.
At 5:35, okay. Further discussion? Not all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, carries. All right, then we're on to 7A.
Yeah, so this zoning ordinance, I've either brought it up each of the past 2 months or for sure one of the past 2 months. As a city, we've been reaching out to the League of Minnesota Cities to talk with some codification or codification. I found out it's how it's pronounced. It looks like codification to me, but it's codification services, just to, I'll say, review, update, and potentially aid our current existing ordinances. And so both the city ordinances and the zoning ordinances. But after last month's meeting, we found out that the League of Minnesota Cities has a template for zoning ordinances. They don't offer full service for review and things like that for zoning. So they instructed me to look for a third party, private party, most likely, consulting firm. So what I anticipate is this probably falling off the docket for a while, but the goal for here is just to make sure we're up to date. I guess both on the city ordinance side of things and the planning and zoning side of things, making sure, because new ordinances come every year. We don't always hear about them. So it's nice to get in touch and stay updated. So, and I don't know when the last time the zoning ordinance was not updated, because they count, if we pass an ordinance or we recommend approval to council for an ordinance, that counts as an update. But when was the last time a review took place of them? So I found out for the city ordinance side of things, the last review took place in 2005. And they say you're supposed to do it every about 10 years. So it's something on the docket type of deal. So that's just more of an update.
Questions? Otherwise, part B.
So this is what I brought up for the first time last month, and I just want to bring it up to say that you all should have in your email from the League of Minnesota Cities a public finance course that the city purchased for everybody. If you guys are interested in taking it, Tom, we emailed about that. Did you get a chance to take it already? Yeah, I started taking it yesterday, and I would say I'm about 85% of the way done, but it says it only takes an hour and 20 minutes. But for me, every time I see something, I go ask him questions. So then it takes me a lot longer to take these courses. But it's a good refresher public one-on-one course. And this was spurred on by a discussion a couple months ago from the EDA wanting to learn their budget more. And it was extended to the park board because they expressed the same sentiment. And then all of a sudden we have half or most of council, EDA, park board, all trying to take a public finance course. So then I thought, why not the planning commission as well? Just, cause plus we needed to get over a certain number to get it qualify for a discount for the course.
Has it been helpful?
I would say it was tremendously helpful because, so it's public financials 101. It's a lot of easy stuff, but I don't know the budget. Like I learned about capital improvement plans and stuff today. I didn't know the ins and outs of the funds and line items in the capital improvement plan. So I thought it was widely beneficial. Things like that. Which, you could say about any one-on-one course, you might as well take it every once in a while just to refresh yourself. So it's something like that.
Deadline, we have to take it by.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
31st.
Oh, was this month?
Morning, Joan. How are you?
If you believe me, I had my knee done and I don't drive my car and the battery went dead.
I believe it.
So I
Oh,
called my dad. He's like, I'll be right there, but he's 80, so it took a second. But
oh,
You have my phone number.
it was just completely, Dan's gone, he went to the Gopher game. So I'm like, okay, I'll just call my dad. So Dad didn't escape, so I got here.
Did you send us the link to this program?
so it would have came from the League of Minnesota Cities. So,
It's a different company.
well, Lessonly is what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably saw
Oh,
it.
yeah, I got it. So what's the deal on it? I
So-
got the link.
that's a public financials course that the city purchased for multiple commissions and boards. And so feel free to take it. It's a webinar. It's going to take about an hour. And I want to say it said hour and 20 minutes.
When
But it's
would that
based-
have come in our email?
Just last week.
The who?
Yeah.
It's
League
the email
League of
address.
Minnesota Cities, but it's a third party.
Yeah. The League of, it says Lessonly. I want to say it said, I can try to, I don't know if I can forward you mine because I think it's my link to sign in. But I could forward you mine just so you know what the email address is,
Okay.
or email what it is. Yeah,
Then I can find it. That'd be
I'll do that. I'll send an email out with the details and I'll tell you when I received it. So maybe you can go back at that date.
Tell me.
December 2nd.
Is that when it was? Oh, okay. So
And it says Lessonly.
Lessonly. Yep.
Lessonly.
Lesson week,
Yep.
lesson what?
It's less than the word lesson and LY at the end.
Okay, I can find that.
Yep, and it came in on, so then I don't need anything, I can just click and
Yep.
move in.
And then you start and you take it at your own pace. It's a webinar. You can pause it. You can walk away from the computer. It's not, take it at your own leisure. It sounded like there was a deadline. What was the deadline?
Yeah, I think at the end of the month.
So the end of the month. Yeah.
You right?
I don't make it to
Or,
midnight.
I know.
Or Ryan Seacrest or somebody.
There you go, yeah. Public finance sounds better than that.
Do we need any information as far as signing in, any codes or anything?
Just the only thing I gave them is your guys' email. So the email that
It's real easy to get into. And you can start and stop.
I mean, maybe at the most I'd have you sign up for an account. I don't know. Is that
You
what it
can
is?
start and stop. and back.
Yep. Yep.
All right, then on the Goodhue County meeting.
So this one's a little bit exciting. I don't know when it is, so I said in the next couple months, maybe Brian, you can, if there's further update, but the city of Zumbrota will be meeting with Goodhue County and their administrator to talk about tiny homes. I know we brought this up probably I met with that developer over the summer, I want to say it was. And let's just say the county's very interested in high density residential to combat the rising housing prices, and tiny homes offer a solution for affordable housing more so than the housing trust at the county level can provide. So we're going to have some discussions towards, that would obviously impact us at the planning commission because we'll see new ordinances come into play and things of that nature. So meeting with the county, I don't know when it is. Did we get it on the calendar?
I'm just looking to see if we ever got that on there or if we've been talking about when, yeah. Yeah, set up meetings to decide what meetings should be. Yeah, well, yeah, it's coming up. And just like Dylan said, we had a area administrators meeting with Scott Arneson from Goodhue County, and it was thrown out there that anybody that's interested, let them know. And so Cannon Falls and Wanamingo and Zambroga, can't remember who else. We also, we're interested in taking a look at that.
We know when that's going to be.
He's gonna look and let us know.
I don't believe it's been set yet,
Hasn't been set yet.
but it's, and it was spurred on from the county housing summit, which I served on a committee to put that together. I probably mentioned that a few times. It was a 7-week webinar series. The county annually puts on a housing summer. It's been a webinar the past 2 years, obviously, since the pandemic, but one of the topics of discussion of it, I want to say it was week 3 or 4, was to the phenomena of tiny homes and how it's kind of popping up all over the country. So it's becoming more and more relevant. And like I said, it's a way to capitalize off of aiding affordable housing crisis and things of that nature. So it's becoming more and more of a norm, and we're going to discuss the possibility of it happening further. So
If cities allow it, I wonder if they create separate zoning districts or do a PUD so they're sort of clustered rather than interspersed.
correct. There's 2 ways to do it. The 2 ways to do it are, number one, having ADUs, the accessory dwelling units, which most cities just do not allow. But that's becoming more and more of a norm too. So the accessory dwelling unit is having a mother-in-law, smaller home in your backyard type of thing. The new phenomena is what you just said, and this is easier to govern. So I think that's why this one, the ADUs were getting pushed down so far, and then the cluster home developments are coming up, is having, you don't need much land for 8 tiny homes, so the cluster developments, the problem, and I'm willing to talk with the county administrator about this too, because I've spoken with, like I said, a few of these tiny home developers and other EDA professionals, planning professionals at the county level and city level, is the small home developers want the small home clusters, if it's going to be a cluster, as close to the amenities as possible. Well, in small towns, there's not many lots for sale next to the downtowns, because a lot of cluster developments for high density residential don't even have garages, because some people who move to a smaller home don't even have a car or don't want a car. And so it's almost like this: cities want cluster developments on the outskirts of town, developers want cluster developments on the inside of town. And so that's the next, bridge to gap. There's either a happy medium or whatever it may be. The other problem with tiny homes is, with the rising housing prices, it doesn't really offer that much affordability as you'd think. The one developer we had 2 of them. We had one out of Minneapolis here, and we had one out of, I want to say, South or North Carolina, who does tiny homes. And the one out of Minneapolis, he said his average home is about 270. So I thought, okay, geez, we're getting,
You said tiny homes, you're talking like 1,000 square feet or 800 square feet?
roughly around that, yeah.
For 270.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, so
No garage either.
yeah, so that one, he predominantly wants the ADUs, and there's more cost with, extending services beyond a house and things like that. So I believe that's where some of the cost comes into play. So my hope is, if you did a cluster development, each one of them would be cheaper because they share the same services. There's ways to consolidate and combine costs and things of that nature.
But I think you figure that big cost, total with the infrastructure in the home, I don't think you can figure that they're going to get less expensive.
Less expensive than a normal sized home. you know, but
Because even the normal sized home in Zumbrota now, there's nothing for 250 anymore.
yep,
You
correct.
know, it's just crazy.
So
They're struggling to get 300 now.
it is one of those things when you talk about affordability or the topic of affordability and you're talking the number 270, you know, and that's coming from my real estate background. I've always seen the market change and it's just increased so much
Mhm.
that, you know, it's crazy to me that 270 is considered affordable, but
I attended a Rochester Area Housing Coalition meeting this morning, and I've got some statistics from there that are kind of interesting. They're saying we have to produce housing for people to remain in the community, which is a given. If we've got someplace for them to live, you know, they'll be here. And we have to have the proper type of housing in order to get the older people to move out to make the houses available for the younger people wanting to come in. And people will move to communities where housing is available. I don't know how many people we could get in here if we had housing for them, because we have a great demand for housing in Zumbrota. Ages 65 to 74 is the biggest growing segment of the population now. And by 2035, there'll be more people over the age of 65 than there are under the age of 18. By 2035. Mhm. So. And then we must create senior housing for all income levels. You know, some people can afford 450 and some people can't afford 200. So we'd have to consider that. And current builders are saying that they can only produce 68% of what is needed in housing. They're that far behind. And we don't want all the same income levels in one area. They say diversified neighborhoods are better than just putting all, you know, lesser priced homes in one area. And they talked about the First Homes program where the city would buy the lots and the people would just buy the houses and then they would eventually sell them and then they could gain their equity later. So that's something that we maybe could think about, or grants that would be available.
Yep.
For, but these are starter homes in the First Homes deal, of course. They aren't really fancy homes, they're just.
Talking about tiny homes and having a development area, that kind of is counter to what you were saying about having mixed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought about that when he said that, right? But they're saying it's better to have a diversified neighborhood than to just have really low priced homes in one segment of the city.
it's probably good for the market is why I think that, you know, the housing prices don't rise as much when your immediate neighborhood is not comparable to your home.
Mhm.
But it's also hard to have ordinances surrounding planning and zoning when
Yeah.
there's.
How many units are available in the new complex that's going up?
57.
57?
Yep.
57?
Yep.
Do they say what they're gonna sell for then, or?
Yep, I wish I had a folder, but
They're renting, they're not,
they're
yeah,
renting,
they're
yeah.
at the rental.
That when they put up units like that, that the builders normally have about $200,000 per unit in those buildings before they get them all done and ready to go. Isn't that something?
Well, probably figure out.
Well, my dad, he got a folder, and
Did
I'm
he?
gonna say the one where it doesn't have a bedroom.
Studio,
Studio was starting at 9, and I
Yep.
think, was it 16? Up to 16 for two bedrooms.
something like that.
So the single was fit somewhere in between 900 and 16.
No, them-
1,600.
They're about 129,000, 130,000 a unit, roughly
they're
by
putting-
what their building permit said by the units. It's roughly.
Well, they don't put the-
All the bells and whistles on them, like, you know.
But I'm just saying to give you an average price, because you know, there's 2 bedrooms in there and 1 bedrooms, but if you just kind of take how many units by
If you're
what they're.
talking 1,600, that's a pretty nice range.
Mhm.
Plus they do.
Yeah. Yeah, one bedroom house.
Was it 20 or 40% or a little bit below market rate? Forget that number.
They're income based, aren't they?
There are some, right?
40%. 60% or less of the house will be income or available.
Oh, for the rent.
And that comes into play as far as state statute when they take money from a governing entity, they have to abide by state law.
They have to report on that every year.
to your point earlier, when I first got here and I started working with the county on housing topics that they asked me to aid them with, just because of my previous life in real estate, I found out that we were between 1 and 200 units down as far as currently, just to keep the same population growth percentage, which is usually 2 to 3%. But, Zumbrota, we've talked about this a few times over the past few weeks. We've grown at almost 15% in the past 10 years. So we are well behind. We are a unit deficit here. So I took this data and I approached the developer with it, and I'm working with him to do another one because we could use another one and another one, but it's one at a time type of thing. So.
Well, and I just talked to Andy today, this afternoon, one of the things, and they're already working on plans of doing some bigger units.
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 bedrooms.
And, we brought this up a couple months ago, the St. Paul Road property that had the minor subdivision, if you recall, that was supposed to be a site for another building that fell through. But they have I've been working with them on other potential development sites, just because we could use more. And to your point too, senior housing is going to slowly or quickly, I should say, come into more and more of a focus because it's already at a deficit. Everything's kind of a deficit, childcare, housing, the inflation
It's
rate.
everywhere. It's just not Zumbrota.
No, yeah, that's the point. It's not like we can go and ask for help with this, like it's just us on an island. There's a workforce deficit, we have record unemployment so low, and employers are trying to hire and,
So you were going to try to get another kind of 50-unit building close to
bigger. Yeah, the last one we proposed was gonna be 75.
I had to check out and live in the mountains in Idaho.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to go on to anything else? Otherwise 7D, if you want to bring it up, or do you want to revoke it?
We can revoke it. I'll look in the ordinances again though, but the ordinances don't say anything about terms. So do we think it's just in perpetuity here?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But yeah, I think.
Well, it depends on who signed up. Here forever, yeah.
I just don't quite recall. But
I'll look again. So
I could bring the ordinance in quick.
I tried searching on my phone, but I don't know how to control F, just to find it. But we'll revoke it and then I can bring it up later because if nobody's worried about a term expiring, then I'm not either. I just know the EDA has a term expiring at the end of January, so
I don't think we have any.
Is there, this is how many people are supposed to be on planning and zoning?
I want to say it's 7. Yeah.
Supposed to be 7.
Yeah.
But that's
for the longest time, we never had a full commission.
Do we have 7 now?
Yep.
That's how you got me going. We have a full commission.
There was nobody else that wanted it. I mean, but even volunteered to be on.
How long you been doing that?
So it's 97,
4 years, 5 years?
since 1997.
I think I came on shortly after we moved up here in '02, maybe '04. I don't know.
The city attorney has to be on the planning commission.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is that when you became city attorney, was 97 then too? Why does the ordinance read that?
Why would you think that makes sense? I think it's a good idea.
Just advisory.
It's a good idea.
Oh, for the legal advice and the, great.
Usually the city attorney would be like in Dylan's capacity advisory, and then you'd have the actual board members making the decision. But for some reason, I'm a voting member of the commission, which is kind of different, but.
Very valuable member. I mean, you know the answers that we don't.
Looking for a snide response. That's what I'm good at. But yeah, okay, that's fine if you want to, or you're looking at it now.
Oh, there are terms in here. Planning commission, right? Terms, vacancy, oath. The appointed members of the commission shall be appointed for terms of 3 years.
3.
Appointees shall hold their offices until their successors are appointed and qualified.
So it's just an automatic renewal.
So there is no term limit. So you're okay then? You're okay. Yeah.
Should there be?
Term
So,
limits for something.
as long as you want to be appointed every year, we just keep appointing you.
Should there be term limits? Do we end up getting too set in our ways, too much of a power trip and you need more fresh blood in or not?
Is there any state
Haven't
guidance?
seen
Huh?
When we were on, when I was on library board, there was a state guidance as far as term limits and stuff, and we brought ours into compliance with the state guidelines. I don't know if there's any state suggestions or things that we should be looking at too.
And there have been several that have just been on for a year or 2 years and you don't see them again. I mean, in our time, there's a lot of them that have
I
come and
mean, I've
gone.
been here 9 years, 10 years I've been on this. And I think the only 3 original, I mean, you two are the only 2 originals.
Mhm.
If you had to get off, I would struggle getting new members on.
Well, yeah,
I agree.
that's why the library board's going from 9 to 7 because they have a tough time staffing it.
This one is maximum 7. At least 5 and no more than 7.
It says on planning commission, then I'm not.
Really?
No.
I went to the first meeting here
Members.
last month. It was actually pretty intriguing.
Oh, I enjoyed it. With Jeannie was the librarian, it was especially interesting.
Okay.
You tell us you don't want to be on there.
No,
we'll
it
keep
was,
appointing you.
yeah, it was, yeah,
mayor will-
it was interesting.
We're good.
Okay. Anything else?
How's the Wobig thing? Tell me again, who does the road for Wobig? Does he do the road now? Like the snow plowing in the city or what? Who takes care of that?
We plow it because it's in the city.
The city plows it. Okay. Okay.
Township, half city.
Nope.
No.
That was part.
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
that's
deal.
right. The annexation
Yeah.
covered the whole width.
The road he's talking off of the street.
Would be on my house, yeah, yeah.
So we plow it now. If Joe ever does work there as a development, then he'll pave it. Well,
He's-
half of it.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, when the wind is from the northeast, we get a real strong paint smell. They paint cars over there and overhaul these hot rods, yeah. Really strong.
It's a hydroponic building.
Well, that part is.
I know it's supposed to be, but it's not, no. Because the other morning I was out when the wind was from the northeast. And I don't know, there could have been paint particles in the air because it was really, really strong. Yeah, and then they, they've got those big exhaust things on the roof and that pulls the paint smell out while they're painting, I suppose. Yeah, it's like a racetrack over there between, well, right now it's not so bad because it's cold, but this summer it was they've got the classic cars that make an awful lot of noise and they run them up and down the street and that's what goes on our street in the vegetable building. Yeah. But if you go by there, maybe they don't have the doors open so much now in the winter, but you can see the classic cars. There's a beautiful yellow one and a aqua one and a blue one and a white one. And they're all in there and getting revamped, I suppose. I don't know what they're doing with them, but
Selling one $48,000. Yeah, I didn't know they had a spray booth in there. Hopefully they've got a spray booth in there.
But the semis aren't going by so much. Once in a while, there's one that says Cartway on it, I think it is. It comes up 9th Street and back down 13th. But otherwise, the semi traffic is pretty much going, I suppose, down to Jefferson and
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, I talked to them about that and they're real good. The Green Stamp people are
Nice.
wonderful.
Has restrictions, doesn't it?
What's that?
Ninth has restrictions for,
Yes. Yeah, we
Semi.
can't bring trucks up those, the residential roads. We got complaints all the way up from Main Street. We got different complaints all the way up there. So
Yeah.
I talked to them and they said, yep, well, I said, have them go Jefferson or better yet, take 10 and the gravel road around.
Yeah.
So they don't get a whole lot of big trucks. the
When
Green
those
Stamp.
ventilators are going, when they're painting, it sounds like really a jet engine. I'm not kidding. It is not deafening, but it is so loud when they're sucking the air out of the paint chambers, I suppose. And but I'm surprised that others haven't complained about it.
well, gets loud enough, maybe it's close to a nuisance.
Yep, I was gonna say, somebody needs to make a complaint. I don't recall seeing a spray booth or anything on the permit, certificate of occupancy.
That's what I thought. They probably didn't know what was going on over there, but that's what's going on. Now you're aware.
Yep, well, that's one I hadn't heard. I'd heard all kinds of other stuff, but that's one I hadn't heard. There we go. Mr. Dr. Joe.
That area that I said, the first developer, just because there's items you residential. But I, and, for property, is that moving?
Berg and, Johnson.
Maybe there's where the tiny homes could go.
Yeah, it'll cost you what, you put them on road.
Adjourn if that's all right, and happy holidays.
You too.
See you next